I am a Jack Bogle disciple, and one of Jack Bogle's, favorite phrases was tinkering around the edges with portfolios. He was basically an index guy, and anytime you start talking about investing by portfolios or investing by sectors, he would point out that long-term there isn't a lot of evidence that that kind of investing works. Is there any evidence that this kind of investing, thematic investing, outperforms just buy and hold, S&P 500 kind of things, going back to Jack Bogle?
There is. I mean, one of the challenges for investors is that we talk about new themes all the time, and these new themes don't have a lot of track record. So we have to go to some of these earlier themes that have been around for 5 years, 10 years. We can look at the track record of lithium. We can look at the track record of some other funds like robotics or millennials or fintech that have been around for a while. By and large, the performance has been very good. One thing that I would suggest is, what are you comparing it to? Comparing a global robotics fund that is 50% Japanese equities doesn't necessarily make sense to compare to the S&P 500. But if you compare it to industrial stocks, the stocks that are being disrupted by robotics, you see a huge divergence in performance. Similarly with lithium, lithium is disrupting the energy industry. It's the oil companies that stand to lose. So if you compare lithium to the energy sector, it's a completely different tale of two industries.
Yeah, is that fair, Christian? I mean, what you're essentially doing is you're buying growth sectors at their early stages, hopefully, and that would make sense that there would be some outperformance. The question is, longer term, would that actually happen?
Yeah, I think Jay said it well. I think, thematic investing does introduce some more challenges like purity in terms of the underlying holdings, and as well as timing. So, for the average investor, I think they're probably best served by buying a broad-based kind of thematic ETF, something like an MVPs, for example. For others who maybe know certain market segments and feel like they can review purity, they can have an edge when it comes to timing, I think these underlying individual thematic ETFs have provided some substantial alpha. And, we've seen it even just coming out of the last 2 years with an up and down economy and a closing and a reopening. So it's definitely, I think, something that should be part of all investors' portfolios in one way or the other.
It's definitely hard to price a lot of these stocks. I mean, they don't, and particularly electric vehicles, they don't have any profits at all. The estimates could be years out. There's no PE ratio at all, essentially. So when you're dealing with these kinds of companies, it is a little difficult to figure out what the right price is, whether you're undervaluing them or whether you're overvaluing them, and of course it depends on your time frame. But it's a little tougher than when you're dealing with established companies.
And that's where I'd argue the opportunity is. A lot of these companies are less covered by analysts. They don't fit into classic sector definitions. More value-oriented conservative investors are going to look at something like a Tesla and say there's no value in this company. But they're not looking at what could happen in 10 years from now that completely changes not only this company, but perhaps the entire auto industry going forward.
Well, what I like most about thematic investing is it's understandable. The average investor can say, hey, I like cybersecurity. I like 3D printing. And there it is. The average investor thinks like that. The average investor does not think, let's buy consumer discretionary stocks. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to anybody. Even consumer staples, which sounds like you know what it is, doesn't really mean that much or elicit anybody's, get anybody particularly excited. So I like the concept a lot, and I like the idea of buying into growth stocks in the early stage. So I'm a very big backer of this, in case you haven't noticed, folks.